All I had was a dream when I opened my
Might be a little noisy in the background. Sorry, Dad. Just trying to get adjusted.
It might seem strange for me to include BTS's Map of the Soul 7 in a list of albums I've missed, since it was only released in the US last April. Well. No, what now? Look who thinks he's Mr. Bulletproof. Bulletproof? What in the heck are you even... So, you managed to make a video about Beyonce without the entire internet coming down on you, huh? Yes. But instead of counting yourself lucky, instead of moving on to safer territory, you decide to take on one of the biggest names in K-pop. But I heard so much about them. I thought that if I could just take a look... What do you even know about Korea? Or Korean culture? Well, there was that one episode of Anthony Bourdain's show. Is that it? I like Korean horror. Parasite? Gangnam Style? My dentist is Korean. Does that count? Do you not understand the power that K-pop fans have? Well, I remember they took over that racist hashtag thing or something a couple months ago. Exactly. So what do you think is going to happen to your happy cis white male privileged ass if you get even the smallest thing wrong? Look, all I want to do is learn some new music so I can make myself a better person. I'm just trying to expose myself to things I wouldn't ever encounter on my own. And do you think there will be any way of stopping them from burning your social media and your reputation to the ground if you get even one toe out of line? Look, I'll be careful, okay? I'll make no jokes at their expense. I'll tone the snark way down. And I promise I'll be as fair and as transparent as I possibly know how to be. Don't say you weren't warned, Wei Kuksaram. I just want to learn something new and make myself a better person.
eyes. There was only a cloudy morning. I danced and sang all night, the never-ending.
Okay, I'm a little scared to do this one. As we all have probably had experience with at one point or another, K-pop stans are known to be a little vicious, so please take anything I say with a little bit of a grain of salt. But getting into my thoughts, it's not my thing. It's really not my thing. It just sounds to me like any other kind of like hip-hop or pop music in the Americas, but Korean. Like there's really no major difference with any kind of the production or message or anything like that. I know on their little Spotify description it said that they use deeply introspective lyrics, but I looked it up, did some translation. It's just the same as any other kind of music.
Kind of like with Lemonade. The first thing I noticed playing this album all the way through the first time was the fact that these songs are a little more diverse than I was expecting at first. Don't misunderstand. There's nothing on Map of the Soul 7 that strays too far from the confines of pop. You're not going to encounter any odd meter or free jazz. But it's pretty clear that there are different voices contributing, that each member has carved out his own niche in the pop and hip-hop spectrum. And there sure is a lot of music here. 74 minutes over 20 songs. Guest appearances by Halsey and Sia. Honestly, though, I know even less about Halsey and Sia than I do about BTS. Decent enough voices, though, I suppose. It was after going through the entire album the first time and spinning it for the second time when I started noticing some details that would start sticking with me. First is this. There are a few songs on here, like Inner Child and especially Dionysus, that would completely work as video game music. And this is coming from somebody who routinely listens to and loves the music from Persona 4, Persona 5, Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 10, Katamari Damacy. I'm a fan of video game music. In fact, I would go so far as to say that Dionysus would work great, not just as video game music, but as boss battle music. I could definitely see that. The next thing I'm noticing is that, unlike the last pop album I looked into, there's actually some interesting harmonic things happening here. I mean, let's just take a look at the simple little guitar riff used in Filter. That simple little 6-note phrase, especially that last note, the E natural, has more sophistication than entire songs by some other pop artists I could mention. There are also examples on this album of major to minor modulation, contrary motion. So in other words, they've actually put some effort into the musicality. That's not nothing.
Sheet music. We shout with excitement, throw it all, first fight with the
I would say that I'm not their demo, but as a female in their teens, I think I am their demo. It's not my kind of music.
After listening to Map of the Soul 7, maybe 7 or 8 times, I finally got to a place where I felt comfortable that I knew the musical component pretty well, and I could start trying to pay attention to the lyrics, which is always the hardest part for me. But when I did, something weird started happening. I would start a song, and I would think maybe I was hearing words that I could almost understand, and I would lean in and try and pay a little bit better attention, and it still wasn't clicking in my brain. And then I would eventually think, oh, wait, this is a Korean. And then my mind would start wandering, and I would pay attention to other aspects of the music. Then a minute or two later, I would hear a phrase that was clearly in English, and I would try and pay attention again. And again, I thought I could make out some words again, but again, it was clearly in Korean again. It was one of the oddest sensations I've ever had listening to music.
My brain hurts!
Honestly, the thing I wondered the most as I tried to keep up was whether or not it was easier to create rhymes in English or in Korean. I also wonder what the easiest language is for the creation of rhymes. Hawaiian, maybe, since there's so few vowel sounds? Japanese, maybe? I don't know. After a time of dealing with the necessary hindrances of being a lifelong monoglot, I eventually sat down with the very best translations that Google Translate could provide for me. So, by the way, did you know that someone who speaks many languages is multilingual, someone who speaks 2 languages is bilingual, and someone who speaks 1 language is American? But despite the hit and miss nature of the translations, reading the translations was helpful to me. I mean, after getting past the obvious hilarity that can ensue from bad translation, reading into what's being said, I found a few things. First, a large heap of self-identity. That seems to be the prevailing theme. Here's who we are. Beyond that, there were some tried and true pop themes of love and heartbreak and relationships and all of that good stuff. But underneath it all, the thing that made me relatively okay with BTS in the long run, despite not really being the target audience for K-pop, is the fact that it's clear that they acknowledge their fans as the reason for their existence. And I like that. And it's not just a simple gratitude message either. It's more like they're saying, something really incredible is happening to us. You, our fans, are why it's happening. We want to share that with you.
And I think that's the nicest thing I can probably say about this album.
world don't want to die, but so much pain, too much crying, so dull played. But we have you all now, after 7